Heaton, how was your weekend?
It was really good. I was in Scotland. I went to Edinburgh and did Christmas stuff over there. Saw a bunch of people and got just very Christmassy. And I feel my spirits are renewed. It was overwhelmingly pleasant.
I was actually going to wear a Santa hat on the show, and I have not. I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll leave and go get it. A costume change will occur.
I have to get a Santa hat in my next city. I'll be wearing one eventually this month. It needs to happen.
It does need to happen.
I put up a wreath on my door last night, and I got a little tabletop Christmas tree. I have not mowed the lawn since May, maybe June. So, and also that's kind of okay because now there's like a foot of leaves that are on top of the grass.
You couldn't mow it if you wanted to.
Right, exactly. What could you even do with leaves? I'm pretty sure they compost, and it would be, if you think about it, kind of environmentally malicious of me to interfere with the process. But I've kind of just given up on that. But I put up the wreath and I put up the Christmas decorations. So feeling Christmassy.
What is your favorite Christmas song?
You know, I don't know that I've got a favorite Christmas song, but I have a Christmas playlist, and I really like Willie Nelson's Christmas album. I really like it. That's
Country Christmas Country Christmas is just in general a good vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we know, I am the most basic of bitches, so mine is the Mariah Carey song, obviously.
All I Want for Christmas
is
so good.
All I Want from Christmas Is You, I think, is kind of like when you go to a medieval fair and you eat a turkey leg and you're like, I had that craving for a turkey leg. I don't need to do this again for a while. I think I'm good for a couple years. That's how I feel about All I Want for Christmas Is You. I need that once every 3 Christmases. And I'm like, this is fun. Then I'm like, all right, I got it. I'm good.
I think that's a fun one. I think it's a good like bop song. You can like dance to it whenever it comes on. I don't know. I don't really get sick of it.
You know, a local favorite in our household is a song that you might not know by the title, but you might know if you hear it, which is a song by The Waitresses called Christmas Wrapping, which has just a chorus of Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
But I think
it's
an annoying song.
Oh my God. We love it. Just, it was like the early days of rap as a concept. And, I don't know where it came around, Blondie's famous Rapture verse or whatever, but like, it certainly is in that vein of just a white girl, like with no flow. Just like da 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 da. Just like it's just, but also not a bad story when you read the lyrics. It's not a bad story, and it became a meme between Ashley and I, and so now we unironically love it.
All right. Well. That's irritating, and I'm glad I won't be home at your house for Christmas this year.
What I'm looking forward to this year for Christmas when I go back to Oklahoma. So last year, I pitched going to Chickasaw because they have a 20-foot leg lamp from A Christmas Story. Now this is the signature Christmas piece in the Heaton family household, is that leg lamp. This is the thing that Dad does 2 things for Christmas every year. He gets the leg lamp, puts it on display in his study, and then goes up a rickety ladder and puts up holly wreaths and lights on our porch and risks total death. I really wish he would quit doing it. Like if I'm home, I'll usually either help him put them up or I'll help him take them down. And every year I'm like, can you just pay someone to do this?
Yeah.
Because if you fall, you are going to die, or you're going to break a hip and then you're going to die slowly. But the leg lamp, that's the peaceful part of this. And Chickasaw has a big-ass leg lamp. My brother texted us, and he's like, hey, we should go to this year. And I'm like, that's 50% buy-in right there. It's going to happen. Now we can make it occur.
Well, I'll tell you what, you gotta do it. You gotta make this happen. This is necessary.
Yeah. I mean, when people think of like Christmas locations, right? You think of like a German Christmas market. You think of the North Pole and Chickasaw, Oklahoma, the home of the 20-foot, maybe 100-foot leg lamp. I don't know yet. I'll let you know, but it's going to be a thing.
I don't know if I would have put the Chickasaw leg lamp ahead of Rockefeller Center on my power player list, but
yeah. You know what? That'd be on there. We got to give them credit. They'd be in the top 5.
They can round out the top 5. Yeah. Nestled right under Chickasaw. Yeah. Jen, where in the world are you?
I am currently in Budapest, Hungary, and I've been here for almost a week now. So it was a rough start to our Budapest stay. It was actually a very, very rough start because this is where we ended the boat. But I was so I recorded with you guys on Wednesday night. By Thursday, I was pretty damn sick. Yeah. So I got myself back to the boat and I was pretty much like in bed until Friday until they kicked me off of the bote.
I thought that you'd been on meds for syphilis. They just knocked that out, but that's coming back.
Nice. No, it's like a sinus thing. You can probably still hear it. Like it's still in here. I just
sinus syphilis
feel better.
God. Oh
yeah. Yeah. It was not fun.
Nasal syphilis,
I got to the Airbnb and Joe showed up a couple hours later. And in the between like that 24 hours that I wasn't with him, my dog got really sick. She was coughing constantly. We just like could not get her to stop. And Joe had to work at night. And so I spent my next pretty much 36 hours. It's a long story. I will cut it short. But like I had to go around Budapest, a place I've never been before, with a language I have zero experience with, going from veterinarian to try and get this dog the medicine that she needs to make this cough go away. It was so fucking miserable. And like part of it was like I'm trying to figure out public transportation. And
mistake number 1.
Well, so I love public transportation. You know that wasn't the issue, but some dude who works at a flea market decided I was a good mark for all the stuff that he wanted to sell. And he spoke English and he came and sat next to me and would not go away. And so he's trying to sell me on like a bag for my dog while she's in a bag. I'm like, I'm good, bro. And then he wanted to sell me a leather jacket. And then he wanted to show me where the flea market was. And all these people are standing around watching this where I'm like, I need to run off this bus.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I like ran off the bus with a sick coughing dog. It was fucking terrible.
Oh, he did it on the bus? I'm impressed. That's very entrepreneurial right there. Did you go to any of the bats?
Like typical bus behavior. It's you're already in a lawless.
Whenever I want to buy a leather jacket,
I
just ride public transit when I want to get a leather jacket. I'm just like, I think the X62 will take care of that.
It was so weird. He's like, meet me tomorrow at the flea market. And I was like, A, I said no to all of these offers. And B, like, I'm not interested in your flea market. Can you not hear my dog hacking like crazy on this bus? So it was really bad, but we got her medicine. She's finally feeling better. But I was holding it against Budapest because the first like 36 hours were terrible. I was like, I hate this fucking country. But once the dog started feeling better, we started walking around and it turns out this place is incredible. Even with my dog adventure, I didn't realize, because I was afraid of the whole I don't speak Hungarian thing. Everyone speaks English here. Everyone. Yeah, like the menus are in English. The signs are often in, like, it's one of the easiest places I've ever been as an American.
City.
Gorgeous, dude. And the Christmas markets, I think we've stumbled upon like 9 of them. They're everywhere. And where other Christmas markets, like in Germany, because you mentioned those, we went to Germany, Austria. I went to one in Paris. They have food there, but it's like sausages and desserts, like pretty basic stuff. Here in Budapest, it is full-blown dinners. Like you can go in there.
Really?
They have like salmon and ham and steaks and chickens and of course the sausages and shit. I've been eating all the stuffed cabbages, just so much like good, hearty food, and some of it actually healthy. Like they'll have vegetables that you can have as a side. So I actually really love it here, which I was not expecting. I knew nothing about this place. And so to come here and like loving the food, loving walking around, it's so well lit. Everywhere is well lit. So I'm walking around at night and it's been fine. So now that the kind of emergency is passed, I think I'm in love with Budapest.
I would love to go back to Budapest. I was offended that you did not invite me to go with you, but I love you and I'm a big man. I'm gonna let that slide. But I went there some years ago. What I used to do when I was 100% 9-to-5 guy that worked for companies. If I transitioned jobs, I would take a month off and go travel if I had the money to do it. And went to Eastern Europe, went to Budapest and loved it. I thought it was a beautiful city. had life gone a little bit differently, if I'd gone to Budapest rather than Edinburgh the first time around, I might be the guy that goes to Hungary all the time for some weird reason. But I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. I love the baths. I like a good bath. So I love the baths they've got there. They've got this. Did you go to the castle?
I'm doing that tomorrow.
And it's not even a real castle. Like they built it for the World's Fair, but it looked so fucking cool that they just were like, we should keep the castle. So they did. It looks awesome.
It's awesome.
And they've got like, what do you call them? Like, I don't remember the name. It's like a bunker pub or something. Like communism did a really good job of fucking everything up in that country. So they had, between that and the war, they had all these like burned down like sockets in between buildings or like just abandoned buildings. So people would just open up not speakeasies, but like, I don't know what you call them, gray market bars. Like they'd open up gray market pubs. And they just ended up being really cool because you go into them and they're just full of random shit. Like just like one room will be the mittens room. Another room will be like the thimbles room. So it's kind of like being in a flea market where you can drink. And that's become kind of a cultural thing. And I don't know how many Hungarians you've interacted with in a non-veterinary capacity, but my experience was that like, okay, the French, like their kind of national ethos is like, we're the chic, sophisticated people. The Germans are like, we're very competent. The Hungarians, for whatever reason, decided we're the crazy ones. And they really like that. Like they lean into that. Like they really enjoy going over history with you. And they're like, welcome to Hungary. Like I heard welcome to Hungary at least 10 times while I was there, whenever anything weird would happen. And I was like, I'm fine with this. I like the national ethos being we're nuts.
I haven't experienced that at all. Although, like you said, most of my interactions have been veterinarian nature, and just the fact that I'm walking around with a dog.
Or jacket salesman.
Yeah.
That was super weird. But like, I look like I'm from here, which is kind of wild. Like walking around with a dog, like, and the thing is, my grandparents, we thought that my grandparents on my mother's side, that both of them were Hungarian. And we've been kind of down a document rabbit hole, and I found out that one was actually Slovakian and one was Hungarian.
I knew it.
So
we'd all been the message boards have been on fire about this for years.
Yeah.
I am just so fucking Eastern European, which I didn't realize until I came here. Like there's just things all over this town that I'm recognizing from my own house, like decorations that were just normal to me for Christmas. Yeah. But are not in everybody else's house. They're like all here.
What are Eastern European decorations that we don't have in proper Anglo-Saxon households?
So there's these like little soldiers here, like a very specific soldier-looking Christmas. Sometimes they're ornaments, sometimes they're little statues. I know.
Wait, like so there are Christmas soldiers, like in the same way that we have like nutcrackers, or we have little Santa figurines. They have little soldiers.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny you say it's a nut because my mom had like a nutcracker version of them. We have them hanging on our tree. We have ones that are just like standing around. We've always had these things. And as I'm going through all these different Christmas, like I just didn't even think of the fact that I've never seen them anywhere else. And then I come here to Budapest and they are freaking everywhere. Everywhere. So, and then like the stuffed cabbage is something that I grew up on. We had that all the time. And here it is at like the buffets, you know, it's just these little things where it's like, oh, like this is coming from my lineage. And I had absolutely no idea until I just arrived here. So that's been really fun. Just seeing like shadows of my family
Jen,
everywhere I go.
You also have a really good opportunity to scope out what Hungary is like politically. I think it's very salient, right? Like that's been a big talking point the last 5.
Yeah. I think we now have a ringing endorsement from Jennifer Briney, which I'm going to put her words on it. Viktor Orban's Hungary is the crown jewel of Europe.
Yep, that's what she said.
You two are so incredibly annoying.
But Jen, for real though, and I'm very happy to irritate you. I always am. It's one of my favorite things. But outside of that, I would be really curious to talk to Hungarians about this. So like, I'm friends with John Roche. He's he's part-time at he's a fellow at Brookings, but he's a very good writer. Very good writer. He's been on my show a couple of times. When I had lunch with him, maybe a year ago, 8 months ago, he was apoplectic with Trump stuff going on. And I had lunch with him recently, and I told him, you know, I've got friends in DC that they're really worried that we're like sliding into like Third Reich territory and things like that. And I very much respect John, and John is he is more worried than I am. I am worried, but not nearly so worried. He's much more worried. And I was like, okay, so can you help me work this out? Like if 0 is Narnia and 10 is Third Reich North Korea territory. Like, where on a scale of 1 to 10 do you think we are right now? And he took a deep breath and he went, well, that's never going to happen. Like, that's just not realistic. We're not going to be North Korea. It's not going to happen. He goes, but what is realistic is that we could become Hungary. And I thought that was a very interesting and more sober analysis of a realistic proposition for where American democracy could be moving towards. So I would be very, very curious to talk to people in Hungary.
What defines Hungary?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you.
See, that's why I think that's a dumb answer. That's just like an over-intellectualized thing that sounds smart, but actually has no actual connection. Yeah. But we're all just going to assume that we kind of know what Hungary is, and we're just going to go yes, uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I don't. It does sound more likely to me. I think America's probably more like Hungary now than it is to North Korea. I feel like
maybe, but I don't. In what way? That the leaders get along? Like, yeah, sure. We are more like Hungary in that when Joe Biden didn't like Viktor Orban and Trump likes Viktor Orban. But other than that, I have no idea what's happening in Hungary that would define American democracy.
I don't either. My guess is that it's something like super version of unitary executive theory or something like that, where like the administration has much more effect than the legislature. I don't know, but Jen, talk to Hungarians. Jen, this is why I fucking want you to go talk to Hungarians.
You are dispatched.
I mean, the thing is, I had a week here, but most of it was spent between me getting sick and the dog getting sick, and I leave Friday morning. So it's like tomorrow is when we're doing our laundry.
Well, jam it in. Jam it in.
I've run out of time.
Figure out everything that's happening.
Okay, what I just heard is you definitely can't write this off on your taxes now. So just putting that out there, you can't do this unless you go talk to Hungarians.
I know, that's fair. No, I think what I've learned here is that I need to come back. I think that I have familiar roots here. I think I really enjoyed it here. I think there's interesting politics here. I think there's a lot of reasons to come back, but like
pure
this trip
culture.
was just, I mean, this trip was basically
undiluted culture.
I just had to keep myself and my family members alive on this trip. And so far,
Jen, truly, I would like to go back to Budapest and have for several years. If you go back, consider inviting me or Justin. Yeah. Because I would love to go back to the city.
That sounds
I'm going
to
to stay at that Grand Hotel.
The Grand Budapest Hotel?
Oh.
Yeah. We'll leave
I saw that documentary. It was a lot of fun.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young. From Washington, D.C.,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And from Orban's Budapest,
I'm Jen Briney.
We're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we're going to be talking about the January 6th pipe bombing suspect being arrested after 5 years, and AI misogyny. Do people treat AI chatbots differently if they have a male or female name? The answer might surprise you if you're a guy. Probably won't if you're a woman. We will also read your email from last week. Let's go ahead and get started. Federal authorities arrested Brian J. Cole Jr., a 30-year-old from Woodbridge, Virginia, last week, charging him with planning 2 pipe bombs outside the headquarters of the Republican National Committee and Democratic National Committee on January 5th, 2021, the night before the January 6th riot. The devices never detonated, but were considered viable and could have caused serious damage. Investigators linked Cole to the bombing through surveillance footage, distinctive clothing, cell phone data, and component purchasing records after years of stalled leads. Motive and any direct tie to the Capitol breach still remain under investigation. Mr. Andrew Heaton, case closed?
I think so. If they caught the guy, right? I would. Seems like that to me. I'm curious to see what his thing is, because they caught him about 6 days ago, or at least that's when they announced it. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So I've already had friends that have gone, "Yep, it confirms everything I thought. The guy is a terrorist. He's like a progressive leftist character." And then I've had other friends that are like, "Nope, it's the other way around." And I'm like, "Can we wait till we get like a little bit of data on this dude?" Because I was curious too. And I don't think anything's come out yet. Like I did some perusing this morning And it's just, they caught the guy, and a lot of boilerplate over how they got him, but there doesn't seem to be a lot about motivations yet. Although I don't think if it turns out his motivations are like similar to my ideological worldview, that I'll go, oh God, I was wrong. And so I don't hold my breath on this stuff anyway, because no one actually does. Everybody just uses it as ammunition to say why the people they don't like are actually evil. But if it turns out that they're kind of on the same team, you're like, well, that doesn't count. The guy was crazy. So what I do think is really
until proven guilty.
What I'm interested on this is, and I think, Justin, you've been following this more closely than I have, but did not The Blaze release a rather large documentary about this that not only said it was an inside job that had like false flag operations, but it was specifically a Capitol Police guard that they named by name? Mm-hmm. Like that I find interesting, because I would assume that that's pretty severe libel territory that they might be wading into.
You are not incorrect, especially because they did not directly source what allegedly kicked off that story, which was a DNI report that was circulating throughout the administration. The Blaze wound up running with that information, which did identify a Capitol Police officer that they said was a 90% match by way of gait analysis. The way that she walked, she was a collegiate soccer player. She had gone on to serve as security for the CIA. So obviously this, played into a lot of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt created by the fact that while January 6th has not wanted for attention, either from the federal law enforcement or from government, this was an element of it that remained unsolved. And that, drove a lot of attention and curiosity. That Blaze report is now retracted because they put a woman out there by name, said she was the January 6th bomber, and then the federal government arrested somebody totally different that they have pretty substantial evidence on, in terms of his cell phone pinging towers. His car is on video in
Amazon purchases for in the fertilizer and fuses.
Yeah, Amazon purchases, and apparently they found more of the same materials at his house when they picked him up. So yeah, that one is, as we like to call professionally in the journalism community, a whoopsie doodle.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how that develops from there. I'm very curious on that one.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not she'll sue, or she just wants her name cleared, and that'll be that. But
maybe, I don't know. I mean, my guess is if a conservative outlet names you as being part of a false flag operation, I wonder if that would attract, internet weirdos that might want to talk to you or talk to your employer. I could see that happening.
It may well be something that does affect your life. To sue the Blaze, now we're going to get into common law. To prove libel, you have to show willful negligence and actual malice. And I don't know if you'd be able to prove that in a court of law if they were like, hey, we had this paper that was internally circulated throughout, the administration. We did a bad job of proving it, but does that show that we were actually trying to harm this woman? That would be up to the court. I think that would be a challenging case to prove. And that shows you why America has very strong free press laws, because you are allowed to fuck up huge in press, in public, and it is hard for you to be punished for it in this country. That's how far we go in terms of protecting the press, even when it's bad. Jen, you have stood there very patiently as I have been obsessed with this story for 5 years. What are your thoughts?
You have been obsessed with this story for 5 years, and it's actually a very good segue what you just said about the media, because obviously when I saw that this happened, I thought of you the whole time. And so I did let the TikToks about it go a little longer. And what I noticed was that the lefty people have been saying stuff like, hey, MAGA, turns out he was one of yours. So I went down that rabbit hole a little bit. I actually found the FBI affidavit, read it. It's only 7 pages. Not long. There's no motive in there whatsoever. There's no background on this guy. There's nothing about anything he's written, anything he's said. There's nothing about his ideology. And what I found most fascinating about it is a lot of the evidence is about the purchases he made to make the actual pipe bombs. He started buying this shit in 2019. And then he kept buying it after January 6th. So this whole idea, which has been circulating quite widely, that somehow someone said that he thought the 2020 election was stolen, I cannot find any evidence for this. And when you look at the actual evidence, the fact that he was buying this stuff a year before the election, more than a year before and after January 6th, I don't know where the fuck people are getting this from. And I just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that.
They're getting it from CNN, who reported a day after he was arrested that, according to sources, he believed that the election was stolen. To which my first question was, which election?
Can we just say that? we just say according to sources? I didn't realize we could do that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what? According to my sources, he's a huge Elizabeth Warren fan. That was I can't reveal my sources because I did some real sleuthing. Like that's what I heard. So just reporting that.
So
according to sources, Elizabeth Warren and him are best friends.
Are his butt.
Yeah. So
where they are.
We do know that he is the son of a bail bondsman. We do know that bail bondsman specialized in providing bail for people that had immigration claims. They are in Northern Virginia, which is a pretty liberal area. Beyond that, we don't know. And I would caution everybody to, I'm very, very proud of my 2 panelists here. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not know immediately for stuff like this. Stay frosty. Let's just all wait for this to play out. There are some tasty things that are coming out online. He may or may not have been a brony.
What's
are you
a
familiar
brony?
Are you not familiar with brony fan culture, Jen?
Oh, God. What other internet hellscape are you going to introduce me to now?
Are you familiar with the franchise My Little Pony?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the rebooted cartoon from about a decade, maybe even longer ago, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic?
No.
It's a very popular
Have you been living
cartoon.
under a rock?
I just wasn't expecting it to go here. How are we going to make My Little Pony dirty and terroristic? I'm excited.
We're not going to make it dirty and terroristic. No, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a very, very popular cartoon for which it has a very busy online subculture. The males of that subculture are referred to as bronies, like bro and pony, a portmanteau, if you will.
Is this like a furry thing?
I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get in trouble. You're asking me to start naming things with people who are very active on email, but
we have
it's
bronies
not to
in our
say
audience?
it. Oh,
or we have furries in
without
our
a
audience.
fucking doubt, we have bronies in our audience. We have bronies in our audience, and we have furries in our audience, without a doubt. There's not an internet fandom that does not have bronies in their audience, that does not have furries in their audience. And we surely do, and we protect your right to write in. Not to say that every brony is a furry or every furry is a brony, but if you were to put the Venn diagram together, I would imagine that there is a healthy cleavage within the two.
Okay, and we think that the J6 pipe bomber might be a brony due to sources.
According to sources, he and Elizabeth Warren went to a lot of brony conventions where they had sex with furries.
I don't know. The furry stuff came out like yesterday, and I don't know the provenance of that. But usually stuff like that winds up bubbling up because you hone in on handles, like internet handles, and then you start searching public message boards and comment sections and stuff like that. That's usually where these guys, but I don't know the source of the brony thing. He is, by all accounts, just to look at the man, a black nerd, to which my first thought was somebody subpoena Crunchyroll because this guy watches anime. Like, there's no chance. There is zero chance that this man is not a healthy anime watcher. He has strong opinions on subs versus dubs.
I like how we go from like talking about journalistic integrity to just wild speculation.
I'm willing, as a internet analyst, I will say there's zero chance that this dude does not have strong opinions on anime. But yeah, I mean, I was very, very happy to see this move forward. And I do think that it did erode public trust that this part of January 6th had kind of essentially been memory hold. It'd been memory hold by the federal law enforcement. It's certainly been memory hold politically, except by a few people that I do think were on the more conspiratorial side. And I don't think that that's great. Like when it just gets left for the conspiracy mongers among us, like that doesn't actually move us forward. And when you're talking about something like people who put pipe bombs around DC during January 6th, I do think that America deserves answers considering how much time we've spent on that day.
I guess I just kind of assumed it was part of the chaos of the day. Like if you hadn't kept yammering on about it, honestly, I would have just considered it like one more detail of the crazy of January 6th. Like I never really separated the two in my head, which is, I guess, why I didn't follow the story that closely, because it was all one big thing to me. Correctly or wrongly, I just kind of lumped it all together.
I guess, but that's the one thing that if it were tied to it, I think it would have been a bigger part of the narrative that we know the most about, because that would be the biggest crown jewel of a predisposed plan. If there was somebody that was aligned with the people that ran into the Capitol that had been planning pipe bombs, like that is the one thing that had been kind of missing, I think, in the main narrative, which is, was this spontaneous? Was this planned?
Yeah.
And if you knew that this guy was part of that crowd, there's no question that it was planned, right?
Well, the January 6th committee would have been all over it. And the fact that they really, like, I watched all 22 hours of it. I think it was mentioned, but it was like a side thing because it was very clear that they knew nothing. And so they just didn't focus on it because there was this giant question mark, which, as we can see now, here we are 5 years later, we have the dude, we still know nothing. So it's just been a very weird.
Here's what I'm thinking. If we're going to use this as an opportunity to weaponize a crazy person in order to inflict points against our political enemies, if he's a black nerd, good chance he's one of mine. Good chance he's one of mine. I feel like of the three panelists here assembled, black nerd, I feel like I've got pretty good chance that like it'll come out that like, yeah, he was into Star Trek. And then he might have been reading some I don't know, one of the obscure authors that I read. So anyway, I'm glad I didn't stake my reputation on that. Also, you got to watch out for them bronies. Us upstanding Star Trek people, we never do this. Those bronies, though, you got to keep an eye on them.
Don't pick a fight with the bronies, for the love of God. You don't want the smoke.
I don't want
with
that.
The bronies. No.
You know what? Years ago, I was having lunch with Michael Malice, and I don't remember what the thing was. Somehow, like 4chan or 8chan came up, and I wasn't particularly familiar with it at the time. And Michael like got very serious, and he was like, "Heaton, do not engage." He's just like, I'm telling you, you do not want to engage with that. I was like, all right, thanks, Michael.
They've got more time than you, and they will always have more time than you. And it doesn't matter whether or not you're right, whether or not it's good, whether or not it's bad. The only currency is, can they spend more time than you bothering you? The answer is yes. And that's it. That's the only currency on the internet is attention. There we go. Do we have any questions about why it took so long?
Well, I got a question. January 6th. That was the thing where they broke into the Capitol?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now this is clicking for me. All right. Thanks, gang. I got it.
So the conspiracy around it was that there was a element of Capitol Police that would otherwise have been at the Capitol that came down to those two buildings that left the Capitol less defended than it would have otherwise. There is a lot of question as to exactly how much of Capitol Police and the National Guard, and Jen's done episodes on this that are really, really illuminating in terms of that dispatching. But that was a thing. AOC got made fun of because she had this whole big story about getting chased out of her office on January 6th. And there was an internet commentary class that was like, oh, you're so stupid. You're so stupid. Your office is in the Rayburn building. It wasn't even like where the Capitol stuff happened. And they were assuming that she was lying. She was not lying. She was chased out of her office. It was just because her office is next to the Republican headquarters where a pipe bomb was found. And so they were clearing out the building as a precautionary measure because they didn't know if there were other pipe bombs once they found the two that were at the two national headquarters. So there is a part of this that is a part of that official narrative. There is a part of this that does very much connect to what happened in the Capitol. It is just kind of languished. And I do think, I don't know, I got questions as to why, because it does not seem that there was as much, it seems like a lot of this evidence had been sitting there. And for one reason or another, they did not have enough that they wanted to pick this guy up and charge him, which the fact that he had just been on the streets for 5 years, apparently continuing to buy pipe bomb material, is kind of wild.
What I find interesting about conspiracy theories, they're kind of like cryptids. So like anybody unfamiliar with this term, a cryptid is a elusive, unconfirmed creature like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster. That's a cryptid. The second that you actually confirm a cryptid exists, it's no longer a cryptid. Like gorillas were cryptids at one point. Like the British would go into Africa and tribe people would go, you got to watch out for these things called gorillas. They're like very strong, hairy men monsters, and they steal babies. And the British were like, you're savages. We're going to take your things. And it turns out, no, they were real. But like no one thinks of gorillas as like proof that cryptids exist. So same with conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are always ridiculous tinfoil hat stuff until they happen. Then they're just history. Like they're no longer they're not a confirmed conspiracy theory. They're just a thing that happened. So it's this weird mental shift that occurs.
Yeah, I'm not here to say that the conspiracy theory, the wildest conspiracy theories, which are that this was an inside job to direct cops away from the Capitol so feds inside the mob could direct people into the Capitol. That's the conspiracy. I'm not saying that that's true. I do think that I have questions as to why there was not a burden of proof and more urgency to bring this to a close over the last 5 years.
I mean, maybe they just didn't have it yet. Maybe we got the information when they had it.
Using Hanlon's razor would go, the reason that they didn't focus on it was because they couldn't do anything and they didn't want to look like idiots. So rather than going, yeah, we still haven't found that guy, I guess we're just not very good at our jobs, they just didn't. Or I suppose if we want to be very charitable, we could say that they were afraid that if they released any details that it might spook him and he'd escape or something like that.
I mean, they had a $500,000 bounty on him. Like
that tells me that this guy didn't have any friends, because I would sell either of you out for like, God, $4,000. Like I would just
that's
immediately.
So
Yeah.
But Heaton's also in deep
6,000 with
gambling
inflation.
debt.
6,000
he's in deep gambling debt, so he needs money fast.
$500,000? Yeah, absolutely. This man had no friends.
All right, I got to go to the bathroom.
Jen, what do you want to talk about?
Justin's tiny bladder.
Yeah.
Strikes again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got nothing.
We could talk more about our highfalutin European lifestyles.
Yeah. I think the audience thinks we're dicks.
You know what? I think that comes up in mail. So I went to a Czech Scottish event while I was in Edinburgh. That was one of the reasons I was over there. A friend invited me to go to this event. And afterwards, we all went and got drinks. But for whatever reason, it was only women. So there's this great photo of me with 18 Czech women. And I had a great time. And by the end of that, I was like, I think maybe my problem is that the ratio's off. I do really well when it's me with 18 women and no other dudes. So I'm going to try to facilitate that moving forward.
I think that'll work.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, it is just like politically wise, one of the things that I am seeing being talked about everywhere is the national security strategy. And I don't know how big a news it is in the States, but here, Europe is freaking the fuck out at Trump's national security strategy. I haven't read it yet. Have you read it?
I have. Are you talking about like kind of the dissolution of NATO and like shifting, like sort of decoupling? Are you talking about that?
I mean, it's kind of all encompassing that Europe, like I'm hearing more of the conclusions, which is that Europe feels like the US can't be trusted anymore. Yeah. They need to get away from us economically and militarily. But there's just something about this one document, like they were kind of going that way, but this one feels nail in the coffin. Just like the vibes out here, like they are fucking mad.
No, I've not read it, but speaking to
Justin,
speaking to several Europeans over the last few years, like a big concern that I hear is NATO actually there? Like if something happened, if the Russians rolled into Poland, would America actually honor Article 6 obligations under NATO? That's a very big concern.
Article 5.
And then just the general idea of to what extent are we going to have a military presence in Europe? Because Macron is now saying like, look, we have to bump up the French military. Like Europe has to be capable of defending itself. I'm not surprised they're freaking out by that. And then, I mean, it is much more visceral. Like when I was hanging out in the Baltics here a few years ago, I mean, for them, it is really on their back door, and they've got a history of Russia rolling in. And so they're very, very concerned about being left to their own devices.
Yeah. And it is interesting that you bring up Macron because he does seem to be the spiritual ringleader out here. Like everyone's kind of looking to him and quoting him. But yeah,
which is crazy because he's like very unpopular in his country, right?
In Europe, he's being touted as the voice of reason when it comes to the relationship with the United States. Because I think he's been the most Chicken Little. And now people are like, oh shit, we read the national security strategy. He was right the whole time. So I think that's why he's getting so much attention. But it's a huge story here. And
it is not a huge story here. It is a story online. Certainly the European sector. I think the fact that it is that big in Europe is bleeding into online discourse, but it is not a big thing in American media. There's
interesting.
That is far more what we will get to in our email about the Venezuelan stuff and the economy and the special elections and stuff like that. That's kind of dominating the coverage out here. I did not read the national security document. I did read an analysis of it, which essentially said there's some stuff that like is probably overdue for us to kind of point out. And not a shock to anybody who's watched the Trump administration in terms of how we want to deal with NATO and Europe and specifically some of the money flow and how much Europe needs to be more self-sufficient. There's some stuff that is like just Breitbart comment section, red-blooded of like, DEI. And the takeaway that my friend Ryan Macbeth wrote, this is the analysis that I read, and everybody's free to read it themselves, was that essentially this is a acknowledgement that there are going to be multiple hemispheres of the world and that America is concerned with its orbit and that, China's going to have one and Russia's going to have one. And that's the new world order is to not be in constant conflict with Russia specifically.
Yeah, I guess, I understand that's the national security strategy of the United States, but that document really speaks more for the Trump administration than I think for the United States, but it is being treated as if this is the new normal. I don't necessarily believe that. I think at the end of the Trump administration, I don't think we're going to keep behaving like this, but Europe, we may have lost a lot of our goodwill and relationships here by the time that happens because they're treating
they always treated us so well
States.
Too. That's the shame. The shame is that they were always so nice to us.
I don't see why you'd think that they're not. There are trading partners. The bunch of these countries, sent people to make it look like the Iraq War was a coalition. I don't know. I think that you want as many friends as possible in the world, and he's setting these relationships on fire for really no fucking reason. And it doesn't represent me, but the way it's being discussed, the Trump administration is us now, and it's embarrassing.
All of that being said, though, given that Jen, you and I both have non-interventionist instincts and want to limit the size of the military-industrial complex, isn't that what they're kind of railing against? Is America saying we need to lessen our footprint abroad? We need to pull back in terms of our military obligations. We need to be less concerned with being a global policeman. Isn't that what it would look like?
Let's have that conversation when we're not murdering people at sea and have a giant military buildup outside of Venezuela.
In our hemisphere, though, that is consistent with the document.
It's still world police. It's still violence for the sake of, resource extraction from countries that don't want to do business with us. It's the same game. They just moved from the Middle East to Venezuela. But let's not pretend the military industrial complex is being reined in by the Trump administration, because it just
I'm not saying it's gone. It is much smaller than it was 20 years ago. It's like the military budgets, like we did lessen it quite a lot.
No, we didn't. I read the numbers. No, we're
from
up
20 years ago.
Yeah, it's up.
Is a percentage of the budget? It's much lower than it was 20 years ago.
I don't think that's accurate, dude.
Okay, maybe I'm off by like 30 years then. But basically, we did lower the amount of defense spending at the conclusion of the Cold War, and we haven't. I'm not advocating that we increase the military budget, mind you, and I would cut more. But as the economy's grown, the military budget's not kept up with that. So it is proportionally smaller than it was when we were kids.
Well, in the last 20 years, and especially the Trump years, it just keeps going up and up and up. And so that's, if we're talking about now, there's no going down of the military industrial complex. And
no, he's saying percentage of budget.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't do things in percentage of budget. I just look at the amount of weapons that we're producing and the amount of wars that we're participating in and the wars that we're starting. And I just don't see our allies being abandoned here in Europe as something that the purpose of it is.
So you would be for
a more muscular
stance with like Ukraine and stuff?
You guys, I have already said that I haven't read the document, so let's not be grilling me here.
No.
This was a conversation we were having while you were peeing. This wasn't something that. Yeah, no, I don't want to be grilled. I'm just saying.
The European.
Yeah, no. The only thing I'm trying to say is the idea that Trump administration is making peace with this national security agreement. Like, I am watching us commit war crimes on a daily basis. Like, we are not being peacemakers under the Trump administration. That's just one thing
I don't think anybody is saying that. No, I mean, you were just talking about the allies in Europe. The number one conflict that they talk about is our activity in Ukraine post-Trump, right? Would that be?
And whatever was in this document, which again, haven't read, whatever is in this document, their reaction to it, no matter what we think about it, their reaction is the United States can no longer be trusted.
Sacre bleu. Is that their reaction?
I don't know what that means.
I didn't know you speak Hungarian, Justin. I'm very impressed.
That's his French.
And I do think though, Jen, outside of like grilling, just in terms of European analysis, I think they got a point, because when Trump goes away, if I were European and I knew that the alliances and the military obligations could change with any president coming in, and that a transatlantic military alliance was no longer a given consensus between the Republican and Democratic parties, they do have to plan accordingly. Where like maybe they'll get another Biden in and it'll go back, but that also might change in 4 years. And so they kind of have to plan of, well, do we need to have a military buildup so that when President Vance comes in, we're capable of doing it? Or if Vance doesn't win, will we get President Gates in 8 years or whatever the thing is? So like, I think that their skepticism is well positioned, because it's not a done deal that we'll go back to having a muscular NATO presence where, America's largest military buildup in the world is in Germany, or whatever. Like that is going to change from administration to administration, and the old consensus is gone.
Yeah, and I feel like what they're saying is smart, because we did, despite everything Trump did in the first term, allow him to become president again. So you just can't trust the American voters to be rational. And so they should protect themselves militarily and economically from us because we are doing crazy things. And you don't know what's going to happen from one administration to the next. And so I'm just sitting here as an American who values, our freedom of movement here in Europe. Like with an American passport, I like that my country has a good relationship with these countries. I hate that we are turning our backs on these relationships for reasons that I just think are dumb. If you want Europe to contribute more to NATO, that's one thing, but then blowing up the alliance, like, I don't know. I'm embarrassed by the Trump administration out here.
I mean, at least
on this side of the pond, they are really unhappy with us. So if they don't want to participate,
they're very emotional people. I'm just saying, they're very emotional people. They're passionate, emotional people. They talk with their hands a lot.
I'm just reporting from this side of the world. They are rethinking their relationship with us, whether we like it or not.
Jen, you know my position on this. I stand by this. When I'm over there and I talk to people, one of the things I will bring up, and I think that this is a valid concern from the American perspective, is that because we were such an overwhelming military deterrent in Europe over the last 50 years, rather than building up their military, they've been able to shift those resources into their social safety nets and into their healthcare. And as a result, we've been subsidizing that to some extent. And I think the American position that, well, you guys should be carrying your own military more rather than just using us as a way to build up your own social safety net is a realistic one. And so the Heaton plan, when I am running for president, is we will absolutely go back to the pre-Trump military model. In fact, we will increase our military funding of Europe, and Europe will take care of our healthcare. That will be the deal, is Europe takes care of American healthcare, we take care of the military. We're really good at military. We're really good at the industrial military complex. We're going to lean into that. And all the people that give me shit every time I'm in Europe, you guys can take care of our healthcare, and we'll have a great civilizational conflux that way.
I'm for the plan, but I'm going to replace healthcare with cheese. You guys can take care of the cheese. Just bring the cheese. It's fine. Hey, speaking of Europeans, we got a Christmas card that I forgot to talk about at the top of the show. It is Krampus.
Nice.
If you are unaware, Krampus is the German folklore that instead of bad kids getting coal in their stockings, which is the American version, the Germans
they have a goat demon that drags you into the forest, beats the shit out of you, that leaves you in a sewer.
Yeah.
Good cut.
That's Krampus. Yeah. He shows up on Christmas too. And so on this card for audio listeners, there is Krampus is in a German home. He has a crying child in a sack on his back, and another child is being left alone because she is praying. I read now, it looks from the image that Krampus is polling at 50%. Thank you, Justin, Jen, and Heaton, for helping me get so many more through this difficult year. And a very happy Crossmont to you and yours, Michael, the other Michael, a patron. So thank you, Michael.
Thanks,
and if you would
Michael.
like to send us, if you'd like to send us anything in the mail, I never give away the post, the P.O. box on this one, and yet we do get a fair amount of stuff. But it's a post office box 153184, Austin, Texas 78715. Again, post office box 153184, Austin, Texas 78715. And just make sure you write Justin Young on your package, because they get very fussy if they think that a business is being run out of the post, the P.O. box. So go ahead and do that. But we will read all the Christmas cards.
Can I get a quick Krampus culture war take from you two? So when I was in Edinburgh at the Czech event that I mentioned, the Czechs, part of Central Europe, they're right there, right? What they do is we have Santa, and Santa does everything. They've got Santa, and Santa's kind of the judge. And they've got an angel who's the good cop, and they've got a demon that's the bad cop. So the Nicholas has the list of good kids, bad kids. He is the arbiter of this. If you're a good kid, the angel gives you presents. If you're a bad kid, the demon whips you, or whatever they do. I think they've toned that down now. In this instance, this most recent trip, They back in the day, they would literally flog children. Yeah,
exactly.
Now they just have this demon. So when I was there,
the demon smelled like whiskey and wore your dad's clothes, but he beat you because you were a real shit kid.
Right. When I was there, the demon in question is pitch black. Is black, right? My take from that was black as night, black because the demon lives in a coal cave. You know, the darkness not in relation to race, and the practice would well precede any type of European African hegemony that had occurred. However, a vibrant conversation that I was exposed to in this was there were some people that went, this is inherently offensive because it's blackface and this should absolutely stop. And my position was calm the fuck down. Like that was my position was I don't think this has anything to do with race and you're projecting American minstrel shows onto a Central European neo-pagan practice. Probably would be easier for everybody if they made the demon blue. I agree. I don't have any stake in this, but I'm curious as to what you two thought.
Jen?
I mean, your reasoning sounds right by me. I don't get upset about stuff like that. So I'm with you on that.
There was a time when I was in corporate entertainment that I got flown to Singapore to do a scavenger hunt. And I was on a pretty short hop back and forth to Singapore, which is a fucking long haul from San Francisco, which is where I was flying out of at the time. And there was a moment that the way that we did the scavenger hunt, we always had an end event. And this end event was at some kind of Dutch club, a Dutch cultural club in Singapore. And I remember, and this is again, our reputation for being the number one blue collar podcast representing the common folk. As we all know, sometimes the jet lag hits you really hard and like time just sort of grinds and scrapes. And so I remember this as if it were yesterday. While I'm setting up the event, people are filtering in. Timber by Kesha and Pitbull is playing, and I can hear the sounds of the song slowing down in my head as the jet lag just begins to take hold. And I look to my left and I see a poster of a child grinning from ear to ear in blackface. And it was for Sinterklaas, which is a tradition, I guess, in whatever region that they were representing. This is also represented in the show Atlanta, when a bunch of rappers are in touring Europe and it happens during Christmas and there's a bunch of kids in blackface in the crowd. But it is jarring from an American perspective, especially one that's been lectured as much as we have about the evils, the ills of a society that would present Al Jolson's The Jazz Singer. So I get it from an American perspective, but sometimes, you know, we need to understand that not everything is about us. Although it's hard because the rest of the world constantly wants to make everything about us. So that is the duality of being an American.
So here's a fun positive thing. When I did my study abroad in China back in college, if you're in Shanghai, Shanghai's a historically very international city. They're more aware of American culture. But in the other places we would go, like Xi'an and Kunming, our Chinese attendants, when they would welcome us, would try to make it more formal and festive by putting up Christmas decorations. This was in August. And it was just like literally the thought process was Americans love Christmas. Christmas is an American thing. Like they didn't understand that it had anything to do with December or with religion. It was just, oh, Americans are coming. So they'd put up like a Christmas tree and they'd put up tinsel and stuff and they'd put up, I thought it was charming. I really liked that.
I think it's all about intentions, right? So if the child who is wearing dark makeup to look like Krampus or whatever, like the intention there is not to be racist. And the intention of putting up Christmas decorations in August is not to be racist. It's to be welcoming. So I think I tend to look at the intentions instead of, you know, take my cultural baggage and dump it all over others. I just don't think
What about when the SEC fraternity brother wants to be Tiger Woods for Halloween?
I mean, if he's too white for the role, like, I don't know. I don't get that upset about it.
God, I didn't know I was going to shoot myself in the foot. I'm not that bothered by it. Like, I think, a few years ago,
I can take the blackface's bad position against these two fucking frothing racists. This is amazing.
How the fuck did we get here?
Justin went to the bathroom.
No more MAGA gerbs. Woke gerbs is here. You're both racist. Blackface is wrong.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I don't remember what had set it off, but there was another thing about how minstrel shows are awful, and I couldn't sleep. It was like 3 a.m. and I was like, what are these things? I've never seen one. I don't know anybody who's ever seen a minstrel show because they're from fucking 1920. So I tracked down footage of a minstrel show because I was like, I just want to know what it is. And I thought maybe it's going to be like forbidden fruit. Like maybe it's like horrible, but actually really just funny. It's
up all
stupid
night
as shit.
Laughing.
It was the dumbest fucking thing. It's so fucking stupid. It's super racist. I don't want to get away. It was absolutely racist. And it was really fucking stupid. And there's very, very good reason for being offended by that. Very good reason for that, of lampooning how silly black people are. That is a good reason to be offended. But I think at some point it turned into a sort of second level religious blasphemy that you can commit that is not directly related to that. I would put the Tiger Woods in that category. If somebody's just like, I really like Tiger Woods and I want to be Tiger Woods for Halloween, and it's not, I'm going to try to be a funny black guy. Like, I'm not that bothered by it. I think that's different than doing a minstrel show.
Yeah, because in that case, that guy probably loves Tiger Woods. He probably is like a fan of golfing and like wants to buy his stuff. And like, I don't know. I look at the intentions. I don't think that is intended to make Tiger Woods look silly or like by having that costume.
If for Halloween, I decide to be Barack Obama and I don't do any face makeup, is that okay?
Yeah.
But if I do everything exactly the same, but I put face makeup on, I don't know. To me, that would not be minstrel show. Would not be the thing.
I'm unironically going to say,
I'm not going to do
love
it.
of God, people.
Oh, I'm not going to do it.
Just don't.
I'm not going to do it.
It's always a bad idea.
Practically speaking, I'm 100% with you. I'm just saying that it would be ontologically distinct.
This is a real question, though. If you're going to dress up as Donald Trump, is orange face okay?
Yes.
Yes, it's fine.
Why? You're still making fun of his skin color.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like, but it's also him specific as opposed to a group. So there's not even like a hint of like, you're making fun of Oompa Loompas.
There's a class of people that wear ridiculous tans. But yeah, no, I don't think that, well, look, honestly, the only real line that defines these controversies is who is offended and how offended would they be. And there's not a lot of people, even Trump super fans. If you showed up to a Trump rally with orange skin, people would be like, that's awesome, man. Like, I don't think people would be all that mad. If you show up to a, Beyonce concert in blackface, you're going to have some strident conversations about our culture.
Yeah, I guess
I can't believe I ended my career for that. What a dumb thing. What a stupid fucking thing.
Whoa, gerbs. Let's talk about AI misogyny.
I'm too white to be offended by these things.
People treat AI differently depending on its gender label, and not in flattering ways. A new study in iScience finds that participants were more likely to exploit an AI agent when it was described as female, even though the underlying systems were identical. Male-labeled AIs were treated with more suspicion, and all AIs were exploited more than human partners in the same game. The research suggests that our existing gender biases don't disappear when the other is a machine. We simply project them onto software. These kinds of gender biases can find their way in insidious paths to our actual way of life. Like having a topic that is gendered immediately go to the female panelist first. Jen, what does this mean for how companies design AI and how we interact with it? I self-deported.
You did. I mean, I don't even know if this is about how AI companies are designing anything. If you have a female name and a female voice, like people are going to react how they're going to react. Like the other thing I read in this article about this study is that people were more likely to cooperate with female AI, expecting cooperation in return. That's not necessarily a negative connotation. It's just like,
and not trust the guys.
They don't trust the guys. And like, I was looking at my own behavior. I do this. My dad has set his like Google Map lady to some British bitch, and I call her the British bitch. Like, it's not nice. I don't know why I'm so mean to her, but I can't fucking stand her. I don't know. I do it. We all do it. So I don't even think it's the AI company's fault. It's just a thing that we do. Men and women are different. We have different reactions to them. It's why we pick a gendered voice. Like I think the automatic Google person might be a dude. And yet my dad wanted specifically a British woman because he liked that vibe better. Like this is human nature. And I mean, it's actually one of the things that AI can't take away from us is our biases. So, I don't know if this is something that can be trained out of the model or if it's even worth trying, because it is what it is.
I think it's the way that we react to it. If you do want a techno-futurist angle on it, the question is, can we program ourselves to be better than our biases?
What's the point? Like, honestly, why? How does this hurt? You know, this was an experiment with different AI models and they were treating the humans differently than the AI and they were doing it by gender. Like, when you interact with anything, you're automatically going to do a categorization to figure out how to react better. So it's just like, I'm trying to figure out, it's what us humans do to try and figure out the social cues. And we're just adding another social cue for a robot. But this is something humans are always going to do. So I don't know if it's a matter of being better or worse, because you're naturally going to do these calculations. So it's just a part of being human.
Heaton, who knew Jen hated women so much? Are you going to be a good ally?
You know, at first I took umbrage with this because I was like, I don't do this. And then I thought about it and I was like, I pay my Amazon Echo 20% less than I pay my male ChatGPT, and it really made me think about my actions. I think the value of this study is that it's not really talking about AI; it's using AI as a reflection of us, and I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, I think misogyny is pervasive. I don't mean in the sense that like we're an 1840s women are second-class citizens, but yeah, like misogyny's there, and there are different subtle inclinations that people have that they may consciously or they may not be consciously aware of. So I'm not surprised by that. Insofar as it exists, I think that large-scale aggregated gender inclinations are real. That is to say that there are behavioral differences that are apt to be present between men and women. It's not a rule. It doesn't mean that every woman acts a particular way. It doesn't act that every man acts a particular way. I think pretending otherwise is kind of silly. But at the same time, I think that it's bad to have expectations for people based on gender. I think you ought to treat everybody like an individual. So if you find yourself distrusting men more than women, like maybe think about that. And if you find yourself taking advantage of women more than you're taking advantage of men, definitely consider that. So I'm not surprised that this would be in effect there, that we would see this as a mirror on ourselves.
But is it bad? Like, those are negative connotations, but is it bad to be like, this is a question of cooperation? I assume a woman's going to cooperate more. Like, that's a positive connotation. Is that then bad?
Gosh, I guess like, I think I would have more of a problem with people treating people poorly based on gender, but I guess that would be the flip side, right? Like if you're going to instinctively assume that guys are less trustworthy, then it cuts both ways, yeah?
Sure does.
That being said, like I'm a lot more worried about getting murdered by a dude than I am by a woman. Like I'm just like, seems much more likely to me that if like so far nobody's beating the shit out of me, but I bet you if it happens, it's probably going to be a guy.
I'm worried I'm going to talk shit and get my wine poisoned. I think that there is a larger conversation that is, I think we are at a kind of an inflection point culturally of, from the 60s on, there were a lot of stuff about like gender roles and, the role of women in society and what needed to be broken down. So it's like, all right, women in the workplace. Are women allowed in the workplace? Yes, that is a cultural conversation for which we had a clear answer. Should women be harassed in the workplace? No. So some of the frat boy, every woman is just kind of there to get, married to some eligible young guy. That's not a thing that you should have. You should, beat that culture out of society. And I think we have done a version of that. But we do seem to be at some kind of inflection point where it's like, okay, well, is there a too far there? And I think this is one of those things where it's like, you know, the fact that both of you came back and said like, yeah, we treat these voices differently because we have different cultural connotations on gender, that men are going to be more forthright, but maybe a little dumber. And so we don't trust it. And women, we just are going to put more of a burden on because we assume that they are going to be more patient. That is a thing that we just think. Is it bad? That's the question. And I think it is born out of a society that did do a lot of drilling for women's rights over the past several years, that now we're wondering, did we hit the bottom? Like, is further drilling going too far? And that's where I think some of the backlash from the Me Too movement lies, of like, oh, wait a minute. Like, did we, in Believe All Women, did we also mean that there were innocent bystanders that were taken out? And that was otherwise just, you know, an understood cost of doing business when the goals were more noble.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Me Too, we've talked about this before. I think overall it was net positive. The extremities of it, because it started out Believe All Women, and I think now accurately it has been put at Take All Women Seriously, which I think is a very good step. Like, you shouldn't just automatically be able to ruin somebody's career or life because of an allegation. Everybody's entitled to due process, and there should be some variant of that professionally and socially, even if it's a different standard than in a criminal court. But at the same time, taking women seriously, yes, very positive development. That if a woman in the workplace says I'm being harassed, like, we shouldn't dismiss it. Yes, absolutely, that's good. I think there's two different things going on here. There's the expectation versus are there gender differences, and that's part of where the conflict's arising. It would be like, I've had this conversation with several of my friends that believe that all gender differences are a social construct. That all behavioral differences are purely a malicious structural effect that's been put in by the patriarchy, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's absurd, because every other mammal species and every other primate species has behavioral differences that are in there. So the idea that we would be completely carte blanche and there would be no inclinations or affinities that would correlate with gender is nonsensical. But at the same time, I don't want to have any kind of enforced expectations on that. So, like, broadly speaking, is it possible that women are more likely
gentlemanly?
And gentlemanly. Is it possible that guys are more likely to want to go fight in wars than girls, and girls are more likely to want to be in nurturing roles? Yeah, I think that's probably true. Would I want to have any kind of stricture that enforces that? Absolutely not. I like, if a guy wants to wear a dress or play with dolls, I'm fine with that. I don't have any problem with that. I think that the problem arises from the expectation and the societal punishment of stepping out of gender norms. But just saying, like, yeah, there's a tendency to do X or a tendency to do Y, I think that's probably true. It's the kind of electric fences that we do to try to corral people there that's the problem.
I think that's a really good framing of it.
I'm trying to dig myself out of the hole I dug with the whole blackface thing.
I think we're in that hole forever, my friend.
By the way, you know that there in the world of political ad making, there are rules to men voices and women voices, even when they are both being scary. And once you know them, it's hard to unhear them. So in a scary political ad, so imagine the same thing. The opponent is in grayscale and there's like do like scary music playing in the background.
Justin Robert Young from Florida wants to kill your mom.
So the male announcers will state declarative statements exactly like that. Justin Robert Young killed his own mother, like blah, 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 right? The female announcers will ask questions. Who does Justin Robert Young think he's fooling? Like, he told blah, 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 blah. Does he think we're dumb? Why did he do this? And once you hear it, you'll never think about those ads again. But it's because of gendered expectations. We expect men to state facts and we expect women to ask questions.
Did either of you read the Helen Lewis think piece that was making the rounds here about a month ago?
No, which one?
It was, I want to say it was New York Magazine. It might have been The Atlantic. She's, I think, the Manhattan Institute, which is a conservative think tank. She wrote a piece that made a lot of waves that attributed the Great Awakening of 2017 to 2022, that whole period, according to her, that is because women entered institutions in mass during that time, and you were seeing a female operating system become more standard in terms of institutions. So again, I stress this, according to her, what she was saying, according to her, men are more likely to have clearly defined rules, conflict, and then cessation of hostilities, whereas women have more intrapersonal fighting as opposed to interpersonal fighting, and it's less likely to resolve, and it's more likely to be ambiguous. I disagree with her conclusion on all of that, by the way, because I think that it was a religious phenomenon, and we've gone through this many times in history where people will go, we should, get rid of the blasphemers. We should outlaw heresy. I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it's a religious tendency, and that's really what wokeness is at its core, is a kind of evangelical identitarian religion. So I disagree with her conclusions, but some of her observations were interesting, where she was talking about how male psychology, and she got into the data, and I read about half of a book that she cited, that male psychology really is obsessed with forming coalitions and fighting other coalitions. That there seems to be something in the male psyche of, we need to get on a team and fight the other team really bad. And that there seems to be more of an inclination in the female psyche of being concerned with interpersonal relationships, and rather than forming a crew and defeating the other crew and getting a clear hierarchy in our crew and being able to issue orders, being able to maneuver diplomacy and interpersonal relationships. Again, I hasten to add, I don't think you should treat it as a rule, but there might be something to the inclinations that people can have. Now, all that being said, I read a book a few years ago called The History of Misogyny, and one of the things that I picked up on it was that one of the reasons I think women rightly get freaked out when a guy like me says anything like that is because there was a 300-year period where a dude in a lab coat would go, well, science proves women can't do math. It's science. So we don't get it right quite a lot of the time. And a lot of the time we end up getting false positives that are actually just deep-seated structural misogyny that it gets interpreted as some sort of innate difference between men and women.
Jen, you want to make sense of this for me?
Make sense of what?
Whatever the hell this fucking man said.
I don't know. I just know that anecdotally, I was raised in a neighborhood full of dudes, and we hung out all the time. We were best friends. And when there was a bug, I didn't want anything to do with the bug, and the boys wanted to play with the bug. And that's just innate. We were best friends. We hung out all the time, and we were just different, and it was fine. So I do think that stupid example makes me think that some of this is just innate, and the idea that it's not is dumb.
My 15-month-old daughter this morning, grabbed 3 items unbidden: a Swiffer sweeper, a dustbuster, and her shoes. And I had a great time explaining that to her mom and just saying, look, she yearns. She yearns.
Oh, Ashley. Good luck, my friend.
We're not wrong pod at gmail.com. Spot the Lie writes, Justin, I can traumatize a child. That makes his nickname Pod Daddy, the child traumatizer. Look, you don't get to choose your nicknames. I think that, I don't know if that one rolls off the tongue, but if it sticks in the memory of the collective conscious, then who am I to judge? States do not pay college coaches salaries, right? Just wanted to push back on Heaton decrying taxpayer funding for college football salaries. While some smaller schools do use state funds for their athletic programs, most big programs like Ole Miss and LSU get funding from television media deals, ticket sales, corporate sponsorships, donations, and the NCAA itself. Little, if any, state money is going into big college football or basketball programs to pay their exorbitant coaches' salaries. Arguably, these sports programs are putting money back into their schools by covering payers' tuitions, fees, room and board, which fund faculty and staff on campus. They also create new facilities on campus that are used by many people outside of the players themselves.
Hey, that's good to know. I'm glad to hear that. I will say that every couple of years, a map comes out that shows who the highest paid public official in a state is, and invariably 48 out of 50 will be a coach. I guess what you're saying is that most of the salary that they, even though they're publicly paid salary, still the highest in the state, that most of their take-home salaries actually coming from these deals. That's a good thing.
The money, the money comes from other places. So they are public employees and they are paid what they are paid, but they are not paid from the state's coffers. That is the argument.
Well, I think it's both, right? Like they're getting a salary from the state, and on top of that, they're getting all of these private contracts additionally. That is a good point. I like this is me being less political and me being more cultural. Me not being a sports guy. I like what I kind of like the idea of academia existing to promulgate knowledge. I don't know why we have to make it an appendage on football. I feel that it's kind of an odd thing to have
because people like one of those and hate the other.
Well, I don't know. I think we could. I think it would benefit academia a little bit to decouple the 18 different things it's trying to do at one time. And I don't know. Me not being a sports guy always kind of bothered me that to some extent my school was just a football team that happened to teach classes on the side. Yeah. But I'm in the minority.
Grinch Takes writes, the Grinch is anti-capitalism. Explain that to me. The Grinch is you know what happens at the end of the Grinch? He brings capitalism back and everyone's happier. Capitalism unites the everybody. Like there's no way that the Grinch is anti-capitalism.
Yeah, he does pass out gifts at the end, right?
At all. I think we want to make everything like a comment on capitalism. I just don't think that's what the story is.
No. It's clearly my totally invented version where it's about getting over anti-Semitism, which, by the way, I've done some research into Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss. Troubling early works. Maybe he got over some of his own prejudices and maybe he wrote a story about it. Just saying.
Let us hope.
Concerned mythology enthusiast writes, I'd just like to say that while I enjoy and appreciate Andrew's capacity for pulling ancient parables and metaphors out of a hat at the drop of a dime, two fucking metaphors. When he compared Justin to the Titans and Jen and himself to the gods, I was immediately put to mind how the gods treated the Titans when they overthrew them. My mind was assaulted by images of Andrew cutting Justin into 1,000 pieces and scattering them across Tartarus. Was this a veiled hint about Andrew and his future plans? Think about it.
Listen, we've all had the impulse to kill Justin and cut him into multiple pieces. The important thing is that we don't act on that, right? That's the mark of civilization, is suppressing the urge to kill Justin. And I think I can keep it in check.
Yeah. Talking about the Venezuelan boat strikes. And Jen, did you have any thoughts about killing me that you wanted to get out?
I mean, I just feel like if either of us gods are going to kill you, we all know it's going to be me.
Yeah.
I'm the violent one.
Just one needle too many. And then next thing you know, old Justin is 1,000 pieces across the sky forever.
Bye, Daddy.
I'm sorry. I thought this was America, right? Anyone else feeling less free these days? I mean, this is the land of the free. You're telling me I can't do drugs? I can't travel to various countries? I can't pay for sex? What is this country coming to when a well-meaning man can't do fent with a West African hooker in an apartment building next to a nuclear waste processing facility? Huh? And now we can't even go fishing with the boys? Bass boats blow with the boys? Come on, dude.
What I love about this message is I can't tell if this is somebody that completely agrees with me, that is writing something in favor of me, or completely disagrees with me and is making fun of me. I enjoy that. There's some ambiguity here. I can't tell if this is like, I enjoyed this one.
I'm just telling you, it's going to make the brony emails next week look fucking tame. Just saying. Fent Tradewinds writes, in regards to the discussion on Venezuelan boats, I'm a former DEA intelligence analyst, and my AOR was the flow of fentanyl into the United States. The fentanyl supply chain is precursor chemicals from China, paid for with crypto, which was my specific job, sent to Mexico for synthesis and predominantly fake prescription pills, fake Adderall and Perks, we call them M30s, from the imprint stamp. And they are then sent northward from Mexico to the U.S. for consumption. Notice how I didn't mention Venezuela in the supply chain. Any administration official claiming that they're finding fentanyl in this operation is lying to you. Venezuela is used as a secondary or maybe even tertiary route northward for the cocaine trade. But if coke was the issue, why not launch strikes against Peru or Colombia?
Thank you for writing in. That actually confirms what I've been reading and seeing as well. So,
and I'm now updating my position. We should also bomb Colombia,
Peru. I mean, look.
That's
like,
I don't
why
want
not
to be
Peru and Colombia? It's like
I don't want to be a dick about this.
We're not even
a dick about this. Let's just carpet bomb everybody.
Let's just not even suggest that in these times.
And devil's advocate here writes, for decades, most of the countries south of the U.S. have essentially been lawless, visibly corrupt, and mostly run at the whim of various criminal groups. Cartels have literally taken over and besieged cities when they took their leaders or members into custody. Americans see all this lawlessness on the news and think something must be done. Some of the primary ways in which these groups fund their terroristic operations, and I would call open murders of politicians, hanging bodies from bridges, and open rolling gunfights with the police as shows of force to maintain their regional control, terrorist activities, is through human and narcotics trafficking into the United States, where they are gaining traction. More simply put, is there merit to the idea that the U.S. has multiple terrorist organizations, both using its money to fund their operation and victimizing its people, while slowly building a presence in the United States? Does this give the U.S. more justification in their ICE and military actions?
I think your big problem here is that your premise is wrong. Like in the very beginning of this message, there is so much that is wrong. Most of the countries south of the U.S. have essentially been lawless. That's wrong. There are 20 countries south of the U.S. On the Global Peace Index. There are actually, I actually looked this up, Uruguay, Costa Rica, Chile, and Panama all rank higher than us. So they're not a bunch of lawless countries. Also says that these countries are mostly run on the whim of various criminal groups. Wrong. Cartels have literally taken over. Wrong. So if your premise is wrong, to then say that these premises can be used as a justification for what ICE is doing and what our military is doing, that is also wrong. What I will say to this person is, you listen to this show, which I appreciate. I think you're clearly someone who wants to be in the conversation. You're someone who wants to be informed. And when I see you list so many things that are just wrong, I think you need to look at the sources of that information and just know that those sources are lying to you and basically making a fool out of you. And there's a reason why these sources would do this, and that's to get you to support violence and tricking you into thinking that this violence would make you one of the good guys. Your country would be the good guy. So, I just be careful with believing whoever told you these things, because they're making a useful idiot out of you in a way that is dangerous and is right now literally causing people to die.
Are cartels not a specific problem in Central and South America?
Not in all the countries south of us are literally run by cartels. And that's not true.
I don't.
Lawless countries. That's not true.
I'm not saying. I asked a very different question, which I asked: are cartels a problem in Central and South America?
I think that this email is probably referring to cartels that are in some locations in Mexico. It's not all of Mexico, but it is definitely something that the right wing has played up to sound like it's rampant all over that particular country. I don't think cartels run all 20 countries that are south of us, but I do think that there is a concerted effort in this country to make people think that that's true. So do cartels exist? Sure. Are they as big of a deal as this Trump administration is making them out to be, to the point of declaring a fake war? No, not even close to that big of a problem. So do they exist? Yes. To this extent,
but
no.
They are not a problem. They are not a problem.
I literally just said they're a problem, but not like this is.
I think we can make a delineation here between the essence of the statement versus the extent of the statement. It sounds like, Jen, your main concern is the extent of it, and that being used to predicate military intervention. And that might well be the case. I'll say the essence of it gives me some cognitive dissonance. I think there's a good point there, and that cartels are a problem. One of the things that the listener brings up that I'll give some thought to is, if there were a religious group in South Central Mexico for religious reasons was killing civilians, murdering politicians for something, we would be pretty quick to label that as terrorism, because it would be religiously motivated, right? But when it's economically motivated, it gets soupier. And so I think that's a relevant question of, can you have economic terrorism based on narco trafficking as opposed to religious terrorism? Maybe so. The next thing that I would point out, though, is I think that we can still make a difference between law enforcement versus military intervention. These, to me, are separate things. So if we're talking about, are there terrorist groups that are funding things that are causing problems? Yeah, I can see there being a deal. But I would be very hesitant to go from law enforcement, anti-terrorism issues to, say, like outright military intervention. Then we're getting into foreign policy, and I remain very skeptical of robust American intervention.
Well, and I just remain skeptical that cartels are this existential threat to American citizens, even if they are bringing drugs into our country, because most of the cartel violence that I'm aware of is happening in other countries. And what the Trump administration is claiming is that because they're bringing drugs, fentanyl, cocaine, into our country, that's what's killing Americans. If we were to say the very same thing about guns, because guns kill Americans, just like drugs kill Americans, but just like with, drugs, when I take a drug, I am making the choice to use that drug. You could actually make the argument that when it comes to guns, I'm not always making the choice to get shot by a gun. So it's actually a more dangerous threat. And yet no one is suggesting that the military has the right and obligation to bomb anyone who is bringing drugs into the United States. Like, we're not saying that our government should go to gun shows and bomb everyone there because guns are killing, thousands and thousands of Americans every year, which guns are. So it's like the product being dangerous if people choose to use it doesn't justify the violence that the military is currently using against these people that we are calling cartels with no evidence. And when it comes to ICE, rounding up people with no warrants and no due process and throwing them in these prisons where now we have Amnesty International saying we are conducting torture against these people, no. So no, none of this is justified. And yet, because of the framing that I'm afraid our listener here is believing, they're seeing some of this well, if this is happening, then this is justified. And I think we have to really combat the if this is happening, because those are lies that are leading people to support actions that are illegal and wrong. That's my biggest concern here.
I think that we can have a conversation somewhere in between. And I do think that we can have a conversation. If you want to bring up gun violence, the vast majority of gun violence that's not suicide is in the drug trade. So there is the cartel system extends into America and takes American lives from some of our poorest communities. And that's where gun violence is at its worst. So I do think that this is a conversation that does need to be had. I think that cartels are something that are a bigger issue that aren't talked about a lot in Central and South America, largely because they do control more things. And journalists have been shot and killed. They are a pervasive threat to freedom in the areas where they operate the most. How much that affects the United States, I think, is an open question. But I think that we can responsibly have that conversation without immediately assuming that it justifies military action or even justifies the strategy of Department of Homeland Security and ICE when it comes to immigration status. These can all be reasonably discussed as separate issues. I don't see them as vertically integrated.
I mean, I agree with every word that you just said, but I think at this moment in time, we have to really look at the reality of what we're talking about. And these actions being taken by our government in our name are happening right now. And so that's why I think we do have to go to this extreme place, because of these extreme actions that are happening now on a daily basis. So that's why I go there.
Understood. You're allowed. On the Irish drinking fight over warning labels. This comment may put you at risk for cancer, writes. I don't know how other people feel about warning labels, but as somebody who lives in California, thanks to Proposition 65, almost everything here has a warning label stating that it might give you cancer. At some point, I'm half expecting to have a floating warning sign in the air saying that the air might well give you cancer as well.
When I was briefly living in Los Angeles and I was looking for a place to live, every single apartment that I went to had a warning that there was a chemical in it that literally every apartment that I went to had a warning label that it might cause cancer. Every single real estate person I spoke to had to preface under statute, blah, 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 blah. And like, yeah, you can definitely overdo it. Because like at some point, if it becomes so ubiquitous that you tune it out, it no longer serves any purpose.
Yeah. And usually, as the former apartment manager here, it was because of the possibility of chemicals in the paint in the parking lot. That's usually why that was there.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. And so Prop 65 is an excellent example of warning labels that don't work because it is entirely too broad. It just says there's chemicals here that can cause cancer, where I think you can do warning labels in a way that are more effective. And Prop 65 is an example of not doing that well.
Why though, writes, jury has the assumption that everybody is as informed as he is. I don't know if that's the case. I try to do my best to speak to the audience in a way that
I find you openly disdainful of our listeners.
Yeah.
And us.
I often sometimes am.
Sometimes jury calls me at like 3 a.m. and just goes, you don't know what you're talking about, then hangs up. And I got to deal with that.
Yeah, I don't find it's fair criticism, so respond to it, but I don't think it's fair.
I would say that in general, the one thing that I will cop to is that I would rather be labeled as everybody thinking that everybody is as informed as I am than to assume that I am talking down to an audience that does not know as much as me.
You don't want to be me.
I think a good communicator does the best that they can to just get their ideas out as clean as possible. But I don't know. I think people are smart. Also, like, I value media where I assume people are talking to me as an adult that, has the ability to read stuff. So that's the kind of media I create.
That comment is making me feel massive anxiety about myself. This is a real question. On Congressional Dish, I don't assume knowledge. So it's like, I do tell people very quickly, this is how a bill becomes a law. Like, this is, what a suspension bill is. I do it over and over and over and over again, assuming that people don't know. Am I a dick?
No. I don't. So
okay.
Jen, when I was doing my master's degree some years ago, noting that I don't like academic writing in general, I think it's atrocious. One of the tools that was imputed to us in writing our graduate theses was the concept of the intelligent idiot, which was not meant to be pejorative. What it was meant to say was, talk to somebody that you assume is intelligent that doesn't have the data. That the baseline level of intelligence is high, but they're unfamiliar with the concept. I think that's totally fine.
Okay, because that's what I think I'm doing, but maybe it comes off differently.
Well, on top of that too, Jen.
No, I think you are disdainful of your audience in way different ways. I think that's the least of your worries.
Jen, you should be less concerned about that and way more concerned about all the I you're doing.
Yeah.
But
the other ways that you're really mean. Other than that,
for real though, Jen. Like,
but that's
I used to work in Congress, and I do this for a living, and like I struggle to keep track of all the mechanisms going on in Congress on a regular basis, and it doesn't. I don't know if I'm listening to your program and you like mention mechanisms of how a bill becomes law. It doesn't. I don't get a feeling.
This is a great thing. If you are a congressional psycho, there is a Twitter account called Ringweis, RINGWEISS. You will know it when you see the icon of Homer Simpson with a donut. And this is apparently a young British person who is just obsessed with American Congress and knows the rules of Congress better than anybody in Congress, which is saying something, because there are a lot of fucking nerds in that building. And will often, when there are sticky situations, will be calling out rules in Congress of like, well, they wouldn't have to do that. You could actually just suspend the vote and then do the . And sometimes it works. Like, he'll tweet stuff out, procedural things out, and then they'll start doing it in Congress. And you can watch it if you have that and C-SPAN, now available on YouTube TV. Boy, is my life better now that I have C-SPAN. All the C-SPANs on YouTube TV in my office. My life is just so much better. But yeah, you can see that all play out in real time. So yes,
love it.
It is a complicated world. You are doing your best at explaining it to a populace that is no way that they can keep all that in their head. But yeah, the other ways you're mean, you should really be reconsidering and staying up at night. But other than that, that's not a problem.
But I think this is also a good exhibit for our emailer here to see that, like, we do think about these things and we do them intentionally. We're not trying to think you're too smart or you're too stupid. Like, it's really, we're doing the best we can. And Justin,
actually, hold on. Let me go back and redo this email real quick. Why though writes, Justin has the assumption that everybody is informed as he is. What a dumb fuck email. Moving on. Health warnings work. Writes, I don't have all the info since this happened before I was born. I don't believe it was specifically a label on a package, but my father was definitely a regular cigarette smoker until one day he saw the comparison of a healthy lung and a smoker's lung at a museum exhibit and never smoked another cigarette. This had to be in the 80s or 90s, and he hasn't touched one since.
Amazing. Awareness is a powerful thing.
Sounds like a lie your dad told you.
I was talking to my host dad, Uncle Arthur, when I was in Edinburgh this trip. His great aunt prided herself in being able to go through at least one pack of cigarettes a day with only one match. Like she'd light one and then light the next one. And when she was getting older, at one point, her lung capacity was so horrible that she couldn't get out of bed one day. But fortunately, she had a phone by the bed, so she called a doctor. He came over and explained to her, like, yeah, this is you have to quit smoking. And she lit up a cigarette. And he went, if you smoke that cigarette, you are going to die. And she put it out and never smoked again.
Wow.
Fucking made of nails. Yeah, made of nails, that lady. I wish I'd met her.
Wow, she must have been a real bitch for about a year while quitting at that level.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. We'll still clear of Aunt Margaret for another 2-3 months till she's worked it out in her system.
The most gendered take I have on this is that we collapse cigarette smoking in America because women at some point just the firmware updated and they're like, cigarette smoke's gross. Yeah. And when you do that, then it's like, all right, so what, you're going to date somebody and she's going to be like, oh, I don't like cigarette smoking. And then you're going to get pushed further and further out of it. It's going to be easier and easier for you to quit. And that's kind of how, you go to Europe, you go to Asia, they still fucking smoke like it's like the Mad Men era. Like
there's also they're
still into it.
There's like a weird socioeconomic status association that happened with cigarettes that didn't happen with alcohol. I don't know why, but like, back in the 40s, like everybody smoked. You watch a film in the 40s, everybody's smoking. And then at some point, it kind of got coded as like, well, this is more of a poor person thing. We never did that with alcohol for whatever reason, but there became a kind of classist element to it that I think ended up downplaying it considerably.
Ice Cold Solution writes, if the pubs in Scotland are worried about the decline in attendance, I have a business idea for Heaton. During Prohibition, ice cream parlors and soda fountains took the place of bars as the social centers for a younger generation. It sounds like Scotland needs a 50s themed ice cream parlor / soda jerk for the youngins. It could be like KFC in Japan and anchor Mighty Heaton as a Scottish icon for generations. Added bonus, I feel like Heaton already has the wardrobe to open this business.
You know what? Given that my career will be ending after this podcast from a canceled
blackface advocate,
this actually seems like a pretty good landing pad for me. So yeah, all right, deal. I'll do it.
You give me ice cream and like a pinball machine that I don't have to pay for. Like I will spend some time in your establishment. So I think like good food and games. That's how you get people like me in there.
Mm-hmm. Pinball machine, great accessory for edibles. Just gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal accessory for edibles.
Okay.
For sure.
Oh, you didn't know? Writes, yes, pretty sure I learned about the links between cirrhosis, liver, stomach, and mouth cancer, and a few other things in high school health class. I graduated in 2000 in Virginia. I figured current students are being taught that along with new casual links that we've discovered, but maybe not all states have this requirement.
Well, yeah, like we learned about it in class, but I mean, one class doesn't like, okay, I learned about that shit in class too, but I didn't hear the detail that it greatly increases my risk of getting breast cancer in particular until I was in my 40s. No one fucking told me that it would affect my anxiety if I was drinking in the weeks after I stopped drinking. Like I had no idea the effect on my anxiety, and that information could have changed like the last 20 years of my life. There was a lot of details I didn't have. And the thing is, like, you can hear a bunch of different facts, but there's a certain one that's going to get through to you. There's a certain fear that it's going to hit. If I didn't have skin cancer 4 times, like, would the cancer thing have mattered to me years before that happened? Like, no, it really mattered to me after I saw how expensive and pain in the ass having any kind of cancer would be. Like mine was the easiest to take care of. And when I was like, oh shit, I'm giving myself breast cancer, that got through to me. So it's like, sure, you can hear about it in your health class when you're 15, but having like just a fact on a bottle, if there had been hundreds, like thousands of bottles that made it through my hands and one of them told me that, maybe it could have helped me sooner than that information actually.
You got the information though. Feels like
I got it from Dr. Huberman. Like if I didn't listen to that podcast,
then
I wouldn't have had it
from somewhere else. You were ready to quit.
I
not
graduated
necessarily
from high school in 2003. As I recall, what I learned in our health classes were you should eat more bread and premarital sex blows your legs off. I believe these were the two staples of public health education in Oklahoma at that time.
Yeah.
Grain is very important. Premarital sex like makes your genitals invert.
We also learned how to put condoms on bananas, which came in very handy as I was fucking all the fruit.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. You don't want to get fruit syphilis.
No. Health class in Florida was just put it in the groove of a key and go into the bathroom. A neighborly day for a beauty wood brings us on home. When Justin says aesthetics matter, what resonates with me is that life is grim enough already. If we indulge in a little bit of luxury and I buy myself a nice whiskey, I don't need the government standing over my shoulder, letting me know that some people kill themselves with this stuff every time I pick up the bottle. In fact, I'm going to read that again as John Stossel. When Justin says aesthetics matter, what resonates with me is that life is grim enough already. If I indulge in a little bit of luxury and buy myself a nice whiskey, I don't need the government standing over my shoulder, letting me know that some people kill themselves with this stuff every time I pick up the bottle.
It was very good. Justin, I want you to know, I appreciate that John Stossel impression greatly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we should have pretty things. Jen and I disagree about the warning labels, just in that, like, I do agree with your sentiment. And I think that there are ways in which we can get messages out that aren't quite as brute force. This feels a little brute force to me.
And I just feel like if there's poison in the wine, I want to know if the wine is poison. You know?
Do you?
Would it help if we bombed Peru? Would that? I think it would. I think that would help.
Or St. Louis, where the Budweiser factory is. Just take them out.
We need to get more use out of our bombs. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bomb just all breweries. That's the solution.
Put suicide vests on the Clydesdales. Take these fuckers out. Oh, that crossed the line. Oh, I'm sorry.
They're innocents.
They're heroes. Taking out those breweries. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. On PX3 this week, Bill Scher of Washington Monthly talks about the insurgent Democratic Party leading into the midterms, and I discuss Jasmine Crockett shaking up the Texas Senate race, and one of the most insane debut advertisements of all time by Jasmine Crockett. Literally. Have you seen this one, Jen?
No.
It's just Jasmine Crockett wordlessly turning to the camera as clips of Donald Trump calling her an idiot play over her.
I love her, man.
I got to say, she's like, I'm just talking as a politician. I'm not talking in terms of policy agenda. As a politician, she is a delight. Like she went on, what was it? She was on CNN about a month ago where she'd gone on the House floor and had given a speech about Epstein. And she's like, the Republicans are bringing all this up, and they didn't bring up that Epstein gave money to Romney and like went through all this. But it turns out that it wasn't that Epstein. It was like
other
a gynecologist in New Jersey. It was like
another Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah.
And the CNN host kindly, but with some force, was like, do you want to say? And she's like, I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't say it was that Jeffrey Epstein. I said it was a Jeffrey Epstein. And I was like, this is masterful. Like, this is, and then she's like, and also we only had like, I told my staff to Google it. They only had like 20 minutes to do it. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, there was 0.000 bit of that, of giving any ground. And I was like, this is a fun capital P politician. Keep your eyes on her.
She's going to be fun to watch running for the Senate. I'm glad I'm going to be in Texas for a good chunk of this, because she's just going to be pure entertainment.
I believe that she is going to get the nomination. There's currently a three-way race on the Republican side that's also very interesting to watch between sitting Senator John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, who has a lot of skeletons in his closet and just got divorced for biblical grounds, literally the way that his wife filed their divorce. And then Wesley Hunt. Wesley Hunt is a bombastic young congressman. If Wesley Hunt is able to win that primary and we have we have Crockett on the Democratic side, I believe they should debate in Cowboy Stadium. I think that they can sell the tickets. I think it's going to benefit us to just let's fucking blow it out as big as Texas can. Like just no rules on yelling and screaming. Like they're both up to it. They can both handle it. They both love it. I think they would thrive off the audience. Let's do it. 50-yard line. We'll leave the roof open so God can see his favorite debate in person. It's going to be amazing if it happens. I'm so excited for both those primaries.
I would go for sure.
Oh, I would fucking.
That sounds so fun.
I'd live there. Be amazing. Jen, what's sizzling on the dish?
I feel like I already told you guys about this, but I released the 23andMe episode. So yeah.
That's the latest.
That is still the latest because Congress just came back to work. So now I have to come back to work now that I am healthy again. So I'm going to start working on the next one.
I saw Gene Simmons on C-SPAN. Now that all I do is just watch C-SPAN hearings. Gene Simmons of KISS.
I thought he died.
No, he'll never die.
Still going though. Still going strong.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons died and one of the members of KISS died. Paul Stanley or Peter Criss. One of those two died recently. Heaton, who stumbled into the orphanage this week?
I have a great conversation with Sarah Isgur of The Dispatch. I have been a fan of hers for years. I've been trying to trick her onto my program for 3 or 4 years now, and I finally did it. Finally got her on the show. She's delightful. I love Sarah Isgur. She's incredibly smart. She's really fun to talk to. I brought her on specifically to talk about the tariffs case that is winding its way through the Supreme Court and whether or not the president can issue tariffs however they're doing it. We talk about that. We get into all of that stuff. What I ended up enjoying most about the conversation, however, is it goes off the rails almost immediately in a really fun way. And what I love mental maps. I love mental maps. And like when you get into economics, or I shouldn't say economics, when you get into politics, there's the political compass test. Everybody's seen this before, where the x-axis is how much government do you want in social issues like gay marriage or marijuana or stuff like that, right? And the y-axis is how much government do you want in economics like minimum wage and taxes, things like that. I think people are familiar with that. Our audience will be familiar with that. So she comes up with a mental model for how to look at jurists, how to look at Supreme Court justices. And the x-axis, you can imagine, would be, are you more Scalia, Clarence Thomas in terms of we're going to try to very narrowly interpret the Constitution as it was literally written, or are you going to be more on the Brandeis side of we can be flexible and practical with this? She has a y-axis that she gets into that made me look at the Supreme Court completely differently. There's a whole other element nobody's ever bringing up of how they're making their decisions. There is a fault line in the Supreme Court right now, which is not along partisan lines, and that was fascinating. That's on the Political Orphanage this week.
Ooh, a little tease. Cool. You'll love to see it. Friends, go ahead and listen to all those programs after you're done listening to this, and listen to our Patreon episode, which you get for free, or well, not for free. You get when you pay at patreon.com/we're-not-wrong. We're going to be talking about Netflix and Warner Brothers. It is a good topic. I forgot to say that in our break. But you can just put that on right after this. Till then, though, this is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, for Andrew Heaton and Jen Briney saying, we're not wrong. Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic is.
Dog and Pony Show audio.